Types of triangles. In this lesson, we'll cover the types of triangles and solve questions on triangles. Number one, we'll have the equilateral triangle. The equilateral triangle have three sides. So let's go through the properties and understand better. All sides are equal. For instance, we have C, B, and A. It simply means that side A is equal to side B, and side B is as well equal to side C. Reason being because all sides are equal. And we also said all angles are equal. So here we have angle B, we have angle A, and angle C. So we can say that angle A is equal to angle B and is equal to angle C. So the key point here is that all sides are equal and all angles are equal. And as you can see, to help us take note of this, they are able to make a mark here and here. So we have three marks showing that they are all equal sides. Isosceles triangle. If you can see, we have two strokes here for side C and side B, but then one stroke here. Simply means that side C is equal to side B but not equal to side A, which means all three sides are not equal, unlike we had in the equilateral triangle. So let's go to the properties. Two sides are equal. So as you can see, from this point to this point is equal to C. So let's say BA is equal to C and AC is equal to B. So this simply means that we can say that BA is equal to AC, or we can say that C is equal to B. So whatever it is, simply means that this side is equal to this side. So the two sides are equal, but not equal to BC. BC is actually different. Then we say the base angles are equal. So the base angles are the angle you have here and here. So the angles on the sides that are equal are actually equal, and it's different from what you have here. So angle B is equal to angle C. So the base angles are equal. Scalene triangle. For scalene triangle, no sides are equal. So it simply means that side C is not equal to side B and is not also equal to side A. So none of the sides are equal and no angle is equal as well. So angle A is not equal to angle B and angle B is not equal to angle C. So no sides are equal and no angle are equal. So if I want to put a stroke here, I'm going to have one stroke for here, two stroke for here, and then three stroke for here. Now the reason why we have different stroke is simply because no sides are equal. Before we get to the question, I want you to take your time, go through these properties of the triangle so that when we start solving questions, you are not going to be confused at any point. So you can actually flow very easily with us. So bit by bit, we are going to get to that point here. We'll solve questions. The right angle triangle. So for the right angle triangle, we say one of the angles is 90 degrees, and like we have here, that is angle. So we have angle A here and then angle C. So angle B, that is IE, angle B. Angle B is equal to what? 90 degrees. That's one of the angles that is equal to 90 degrees. And that is just the key property you want to take here, that one angle in a right angle triangle is equal to 90 degrees. Then for the acute angle triangle, three angles are less than 90. Okay, so all the angles here, angle B, angle A, and angle C, are all less than 90. So we can say angle A is less than 90 degrees, angle B is less than 90 degrees, and angle C is less than 90 degrees. All of the angles in an acute angle triangle are less than 90 degrees. Okay, number 6, we have the obtuse angled triangle, and we say the property is one of the angles is greater than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees. So we have angle B and angle A here, but then angle C is greater than 90 degrees, so greater than 90 degrees, but then it is less than 180 degrees. So take note of that. That's for an obtuse angle triangle. And as you can see, when we construct them during constructions, you are going to see this in a clear manner. But then let's just work with this. We are drawing not to scale, but you have an idea of what I'm talking about. So just know the properties right now, and then we'll solve the questions. This is not a construction lesson. So one of the angles is greater than 90 degrees, but less than 180 degrees. Calculation of angles of triangles. So take note, sum of angles in a triangle is equal to 180 degrees. Please take note of that. And then we'll have a question that says, solve for the unknown angle. And then the unknown angle here is r degrees. So we can simply say that going this way, so adding all of them up, have that 33 degrees plus 57 degrees plus r degrees is equal to 180 degrees. And what is the reason for that? Because sum of angles, so this is the symbol for angles in triangle, is 180 degrees. Continue. From this very point, you can add these two up. So adding 33 plus 57 gives us 90. So maybe you want to keep the degrees, you can add them later, then plus r is equal to 180. From this very point, you can employ basic algebra, linear equation, one-step linear equation. So that's why if you've not gone to the lesson on one-step linear equation, you want to do that. Having said that, what can we do to isolate r? We can subtract 90 from both sides. Having said that, we can say 90 minus 90 plus r is equal to 180 minus 90. The 90s can cancel out. Then let's continue from this point. We have r is equal to 180 minus 90 degrees gives us 90 degrees. Simply means that angle r is equal to 90 degrees. And if you want to check, we have three angles here, which are 33 degrees plus 57 degrees and then plus r degrees. We've solved for r and we say r is 90 degrees. So we now have 33 plus 57 plus 90. Adding all of them up gives us what? 180 degrees. And it makes sense simply because the sum of angles in a triangle is equal to 180 degrees. Okay, the second question says, what is the value of k in the triangle above? So same thing, we are employing the same process. So we have that k degrees plus 60 degrees plus 20 degrees is equal to what? 180 degrees. How did we get 180 degrees? We got 180 degrees simply because the sum of angles in a triangle is equal to 180 degrees. So you can write your reason for that, but then we can just continue because I've written it in the first example. Having said that, we can now have that k plus, I can just keep the degree after add it when I'm done solving. 60 plus 20 gives us 80, right? So that's 80 and is equal to 180. What can we do? We can subtract 80 from both sides. We have k plus 80 minus 80 is equal to 180 minus 80. So the 80s here cancel out. Then we'll have that k is equal to 180 minus 80 gives us 100 degrees. So k is equal to 100 degrees. Okay, the next question, we have 70 degrees here, 60 degrees, and then k degrees. And then we also have x degrees. So we are asked to solve for the unknown values, which are the k degrees and x degrees. But then let's figure k first. And it's simple because k is inside this triangle. So we know that 70, you can start from 60, anyone. 70 degrees plus 60 degrees plus k degrees is equal to 180 degrees. Reason being because sum of angle in a triangle is equal to 180 degrees. Having said that, we can add 70 plus 60 gives us 130, right? So 130 degrees plus k degrees is equal to 180 degrees. So employing one-step linear equation here, what do? We subtract 130 from both sides. So that we have 130 minus 130 plus k is equal to 180 minus 130. The 130 is cancelled out and then we'll have k is equal to 180 minus 130 gives us what? 50 degrees. So we've been able to solve for k. Now let's solve for x. So we've solved for k. Now let's solve for x. We know that k degrees plus x degrees is equal to 180 degrees. Why? Angles on a straight line. This is because angles on a straight line equals 180 degrees. So having said that, we've solved for k already, and k is what? 50 degrees. So we know that k becomes 50 plus x is equal to 180 degrees. What can we do next? Subtract 50 from both sides, right? So 50 minus 50 plus x is equal to 180 minus 50. And then what can we do? 50 is cancelled out, and x is equal to 180 minus 50 gives us what? 130 degrees. Having said that, we are done. So therefore, our k is equal to 50 degrees and our x is equal to what? 130 degrees. So we've been able to solve for the two unknown angles. Now we have another question, and we are asked to solve for the unknown angles of x degrees and y degrees. From this point, we know that sum of angles in a triangle is equal to 180 degrees, but we'll have two unknown inside the triangle, which are the x and the y degrees. So we don't want to do that because we cannot have two unknown variables in a single equation, and it's not even a simultaneous equation. So what we can simply do is that we can start from this other end and make things easier for us. So let's focus here. Focusing here means that y degrees plus 140 degrees is equal to what? 180 degrees. Reason being because sum of angles in a straight line is equal to 180 degrees. From here, we can subtract 140 from both sides such that we have y plus 140 minus 140 is equal to 180 minus 140. The 140 is cancelled out, and then we're left with y is equal to 180 minus 140 gives us what? 40 degrees. So therefore, our y is 40 degrees. Having said that, we can now have that 40 degrees plus x degrees plus 40 degrees again for y is equal to 180 degrees. Reason being because sum of angles in a triangle is equal to 180 degrees. You might want to write that down. Okay, so we can add the 40s. So we have that 40 plus 40 is 80 plus x is equal to 180 degrees. Let's continue from this very point. So from here, we can collect like terms. That's simply also saying subtract 80 from both sides. So we have 80 minus 80 plus x is equal to 180 degrees minus 80. So we can just ignore the degree for now. 80 is cancelled out, and then 180 minus 80 gives us what? 100 degrees, and we are done. So therefore, our y is 40 degrees, and then x is 100 degrees, and we are done. The last question before we call it class, we have an isosceles triangle here. And how did I know? Because they marked these two places with a stroke. So this marking these two places with a stroke, whenever you see this kind of questions, just know it's an isosceles triangle. Whenever you see a question, they just mark these two places with a stroke. That is the hack. It tells you that these are isosceles triangle. Okay, because of that, it simply means the base angles are going to be the same. And you can see when we have, let's say, when we have 80 degrees plus r degrees plus t degrees is equal to 180 degrees. This can be very, very complex to understand simply because we have two unknowns. So how can we have two unknowns in a triangle? It can be very, very complex or confusing. But that's not a challenge because this question helps us to understand better. Yeah, we know that r degrees is equal to t degrees. So therefore, let's use a single value to represent them. Okay, you can say let r and t be x or m, could be m, since they are just exactly one thing. So we can have that 80 degrees plus m plus m, that is m degrees is equal to 180 degrees. Reason being because Sum of angle in a triangle is equal to 180 degrees. Let's continue from this point. Sum of angles in a triangle is equal to 180 degrees. Now we have 80 plus 2m is equal to 180. This question is actually a little bit confusing, but pay attention. Remember, we are now using our r and t as single variable because they are exactly the same. So let's not make them different, so things are not going to be complex or confusing for us. So from these very points, you can collect like terms, which simply means subtracting 80 from both sides. So that will have 80 minus 80 plus 2m is equal to 180 minus 80. So the 80s cancel out, and then we'll have 2m is equal to 180 minus 80 is 100 degrees. So doing that, what's the next step? Since we have a coefficient with our variable, we can divide both sides by 2. The 2's here cancels out, and then m is equal to 50 degrees. So if m is equal to 50 degrees, okay, let's say if m is equal to r and also equal to t, therefore r is equal to what? 50 degrees, and then t is also equal to 50 degrees. So it simply means, let me put it here, it simply means that m is equal to 50 degrees, r is equal to 50 degrees, and then t as well is equal to what? 50 degrees. And it makes sense because since the base angles are exactly the same, so the angles here are exactly the same. So it simply means they must be the same. So here is 50 degrees, here is 50 degrees. And if you add them up, 50 plus 50 is 100 plus 80 gives us what? 180. 180 degrees. And that makes sense because the sum of angles in a triangle is 180 degrees. Thank you so much for joining. Do wait to comment if you have a question or suggest. Thank you.